Welcome to MSUA Game Changers webcast, where we speak with satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about industry trends and share what you need to know about the future of mobile satellite communications. I'm your host, Roger Lanctot, and I'm excited to introduce David Roscoe, president of Skywave, which is an Orbcomm company. Skywave won a Mobile Satellite Innovation Award for mobility user experience based on its IIoT branded offering of direct-to-device products and services for integrating satellite and cellular connectivity, which is something we could probably talk about for about an hour or two. But before we get into that, David, tell me about your professional journey and where and when satellite technology became part of your life.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. That's an interesting question. I started out in the satellite business probably 28 years ago. Started with a startup company. We built a first satellite network, and have been an incarnation of that startup company over the years. And we were acquired by Orbcomm 11 years ago. And between then when I started and now, we've launched 3 satellite networks. But I'm going to say the reason why I'm in this business is my father's a satellite engineer. And so I got exposed to satellite engineering at a very young age, and put me in that direction for engineering and whatnot.
Family ties.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversations about how the industry has changed, and that was certainly the topic of the keynote at the awards luncheon. From your perspective, and I know this could get a little, I don't want to get too uncomfortable or dicey about this, but broadly speaking, how do you see the changes in the industry and how it's impacted your organization?
Well, the changes have been, massive, right? It's, even like 20 years ago, right? You're talking about implementing satellite connectivity as part of a solution. And everyone runs to the hills. They cringe at the thought of that because of the cost, right? The cost of the airtime, the cost of the products. And that has changed so dramatically over the last, 2 decades, to a point now today where, devices have come down in size, have come down in cost, and also the service costs have come down significantly. So, I can use as an example is for us, and I'm going to show you this little module here, which is 1/2 inch by 1 inch. Think of this as a software-defined radio, and it can switch between cellular and our satellite network ubiquitously back and forth. And you could not get something like this 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago.
I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like people aren't immediately scared away from satellite connectivity.
No, and that's the way I, over the years, and especially now, I think that what I see and what I see with our customer base is that they are embracing satellite connectivity more than they ever have before. And I think for the satellite industry, it's the largest opportunity that we have is now, right? And then you see that's also being fed with new entrants into the industry, like Starlink as one, right? And there's multiple others that are entering the industry as well. So I think the opportunity has never been better for using satellite for augmenting IoT solutions.
Well, you clearly is right in the thick of things in this conversation about hybrid satellite cellular connectivity. And Skywave was recently launched as a dedicated brand for this activity. Why was now the right time to introduce that Skywave brand, and how does it differentiate itself from Orbcomm?
So Orbcomm was like a pioneer in satellite IoT solutions 30 years ago. Launched its first constellation dedicated to IoT solutions. And at that time, Orbcomm was only providing connectivity.
That was before there was IoT.
That's right. Yeah. Back in my day, it was machine to machine, and now it's IoT. But anyways, so Orbcomm was a pioneer. They're providing connectivity. And then over the years, Orbcomm acquired like 13 companies in 6 years. And so it has completely evolved its business model from just being a connectivity player to a complete two things: a complete IoT solution for refrigerated and container type of applications, but also has developed a complete enablement technology to enable IoT solutions at a general level. And so that's why we wanted to differentiate those two kind of core businesses within Orbcomm. And we branded our technology enablement business as Skywave. And our other part of the business which is focused on supply chain visibility, is ViaChain. So we wanted to ensure that, at this point in time, with the different aspects of the Orbcomm business, that we had clarity to our customers, and that we also had, dedicated teams to support those customers for those particular applications.
To note the obvious, we're certainly living in a time of higher, or shall I say, enhanced supply chain awareness. So being in that spot I would imagine is a great place to be today. So by the way, congratulations on winning the MSUA Mobility User Experience Award. In this complex world of satellite and cellular integration, what specific friction points did OGX remove to significantly improve the ability for IoT solution providers and system integrators to deliver a reliable and seamless user experience for their customers? And I kind of brought up OGX without a more soft introduction. So what is OGX after all?
Sure. So OGX is our latest satellite network that we launched last year. We have a legacy network called IDP. OGX is the evolution of that network. And when I look back that when we launched IDP, which was 2011, so 15 years ago, we were seeing how that network was being used for IoT applications, and what worked well and where enhancements needed to happen. And that's what OGX is. OGX is state of the art in terms of providing a purpose-built satellite network for industrial IoT applications. And I think the key word that you mentioned was reliability. And that is the fundamental core of OGX, is providing a very high reliable message delivery network over satellite. And the network itself it's an intelligent network. It dynamically assesses the operating environment that it's in combination with the devices, and will deliver that message in the most efficient and quickest manner possible, and the most reliable. And that's the big key with what OGX provides. It's really a high reliable message delivery network for mission critical applications. And in industrial IoT, you really get into mission critical applications. It's not like consumer based, where you might have backup for text, and whether it gets through or not necessarily you're going to live or die by it. But if you have you're monitoring a oil pipeline, and you monitor pressure within that pipeline to assess the flow rate of whatever fluid is going through that pipeline. And if there's, if the pressure is increasing, and you need to know when that alarm happens, and you need to be able to respond to that alarm remotely, and it's got to be reliable, right? And that's the essence of OGX.
Yeah, clearly the world of satellite is a world of need to know now. And in a predictable manner. But of course, Skywave isn't the only organization coming to terms with this ability to route information reliably in a timely way, as you say, in a seamless way. How do you explain or describe that underlying algorithmic logic that's driving those decisions?
It's Well, there's a couple of things here, right? If you look at the network itself, it dynamically assesses the signal strength from the satellite. And so it can then it has multiple delivery mechanisms, which is also, so it's a function of the satellite signal strength, but it's also a function of the message size. So the first thing that OGX does is that a terminal, well, the first thing it'll do is that it'll connect with the network hub and basically say, hey, I have this message size that I need to deliver. Could be 100 bytes, could be 100,000 bytes, could be a megabyte. So and then the network will then say, well, okay, well, based on where you are, your signal strength, and the size of the network, or the size of your message, this is the delivery mechanism that you're going to use. So we have multiple, ways to send a packet, different encoding rates, different bandwidths, and whatnot. And so it becomes a very efficient utilization of the satellite resources, and that gives us the fastest delivery mechanism as well.
Well, indeed, those decisions, I'm confident, have to be, lightning fast. But it's also notable, though, that you've got 7 partnerships with cellular carriers. Do those 7 relationships give you global coverage? Is that how that works?
Yeah, we have. We are. That's as partnerships with 7 tier 1 cellular providers, AT&T, T-Mobile, Telefonica. With them, we have global coverage on a cellular basis, and we have global coverage on a satellite basis. And that's why, that's been our game plan for the longest time, is that convergence between cellular connectivity and satellite connectivity. And that's why that module that I showed you is like a software-defined radio that can switch between cellular and satellite. And that is, a core product offering that Skywave provides, dual mode.
I'm obligated to ask stupid questions, so I have to ask this one, which is, if you have multiple carriers in a particular geography, how do you, determine which one to go with, again, in that split second, in that lightning moment of decision making?
Well, typically what we'll do is that, depending on the application, the customer end application, and where they're deployed and where they're roaming to and whatnot, we'll select a primary carrier and then use that for the cellular coverage.
So, okay, presumably there's a primary in each region and then a backup in some of those regions? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
So some of our devices have, a single SIM card, some have multiple SIM cards, and you can modify the networks accordingly.
Okay, so everybody's talking about direct-to-device communications because people can get in their mobile phone, primarily for SOS, but not solely, but mainly, at least today. How does Skywave's implementation of D2D and NTN, bye-bye M2M, by the way, how does it differ when applied to mission-critical industrial assets?
Well, I think, like, right now, the reality is that direct-to-device is being introduced, right? So it's in its infancy. And you're right, it's, it's kind of like backup for texts or for smartphones, right? And it's not necessarily, and that's kind of like the difference back between a purpose-built network versus a direct-to-device that's for cell phones, is latency and also power consumption, right? So your cell phone has to use, if you're basically putting a cell signal over satellite, and those are not designed for power efficient type of application. So if you're really looking for power efficiency, high reliability, and whatnot, that's our differentiation that we bring to the table.
But by the way, I have noticed that at some recent shows, CES and Mobile World Congress, the emphasis, it appears to be on compression for smartphone connectivity to enable almost a equivalent ability to speak, on a call, presumably, again, in limited applications like emergency response. Does that apply for the industrial side of things, commercial side of things? You know, that compression?
The compression is more what I've seen is more in videos and pictures, right? Not so much on voice.
Okay.
But that's also one of the features that we implemented in OGX. Not compression per se, but we have the ability with OGX to send short clip videos, which we couldn't do on our legacy IoT network. Right, our message size we've increased from thousands of bytes to up to a megabyte message size. So it enables you to deliver in a complete video, like we use short clip videos. Now you could do longer videos if you apply compression and techniques to it, and that is something that our product portfolio supports. Right, we have devices from modules to programmable terminals. And in programmable terminals, we have a complete development environment that we provide to our partners so that they can develop their own programs or applications and embed them directly into the devices. So if you have an application that then says, okay, I've got this fairly large video that I want to send, and then within that application, you can apply a compression algorithm, and Bob's your uncle. You can get it out over more efficiently over the network.
That probably explains why everybody's so excited and enthusiastic about D2D and NTN.
Yeah,
because it's opening up those applications. My immediate thought when I saw D2D and NTN coming down the pike was that all those cellular-based IoT devices would many of them would be immediate candidates for satellite connectivity, but I imagine there are a significant number of satellite points of connection that were immediate candidates for cellular connectivity.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way I look at it. It's definitely a two-way street. But the way I look at it, it's all application dependent, right? It's what's your application, and then how. Based on that application, what type of reliability, what type of latency, what type of services do you need for that application, and it's going to drive you to one solution or another. I don't think that there's one solution out there that is ideal for everything.
Well, that's the beauty of the whole conversation that's unfolding now. You can be more of a solution provider. Curating a solution for a customer as opposed to saying, this is what we have, this is what you're going to take, and this is how much it's going to cost. You can engage in more of a conversation, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And that's what, so when you look at Skywave, we don't just do satellite networks and satellite connectivity and provide cellular connectivity, but the other half of the business is that we provide that whole IoT enablement technology, like I mentioned, the devices, terminals, development environment, and technical support, 24/7 technical support to support our customers develop their applications. So it's all about having, the complete suite of products and services to enable somebody to develop an IoT solution, and they don't have to deal with all those components and all those parts and develop everything. So it's all about trying to establish, a ability to implement scale and faster development of solutions.
Now, obviously, that tiny little device you showed me a little while ago has some ASICs in there. How do those specialized chips, those semiconductors, help you achieve faster data transmission and lower power consumption than older systems were able to deliver?
Well, that was one of the things that we at Skywave looked at, and we developed an ASIC for our satellite terminals, and we call it an RFIC, so it's the radio frequency integrated circuit. So we took the RF front end and we integrated it into a chip. And what we did is that we looked at, what is what is the most power consumption item within our network or for the terminal to demodulate a signal or whatnot. And our assessment was, well, it's a beam search algorithm. That takes the longest time, that consumes a lot of energy, right? And so if we could reduce...
I'm sorry, I missed it. Which algorithm?
The beam search. So when you have to first acquire... Yeah. So when you have to first acquire the satellite signal, you have to search through all frequency and time. And so if you could reduce that significantly, then you're going to have a much more power efficient device. And so that's what we did. We implemented that in the beam search algorithm. We'd implemented that in Silicon, some hardware accelerators, and our acquisition time improved enormously. Our general receives are 4 times faster than what they were on our legacy devices. So with that investment, and that's the core of all of our satellite terminals, is that ASIC that we developed and implemented. And that puts us we are probably, state of the art in terms of global satellite network for power efficient operations.
So in addition to reliability and seamless connectivity, the other key issues would be sort of scalability, deployability, cost. So how do the Skywave SDKs and APIs empower developers and OEMs to build and scale their own applications more quickly than with traditional satellite terminals?
Yeah, so it's not, you're right. It's not just the innovation, but that's a key part. But it's all about enabling that speed to market and the scalability. And that's where it comes down to our what we provide on our programmable terminals for our development environments. So we have complete development environments so that someone can come in, they can write an application specifically to, remote monitor sensors or whatnot, and they can emulate it. We have a complete network emulator. They can do all this at their desk, and so this provides the tools to enable someone to develop a solution much quicker. And typically, I've seen in the past, my days, I've seen people take months to develop applications. And with the tool set that we have developed, you can do this in weeks. It's a significant reduction in time.
Let me ask you a slightly personal question. How much of your business is with your existing customers upgrading, enhancing, adding more to what they already have versus new business?
It's a mix. so and it's a healthy mix, and I'm glad that we have that good mix. Is that we have we had our current some of our current customers were using our older network for their applications that were data intensive, and that network can't really support those type of heavy usage, like when I talk about video clips or large photos or whatnot. And so with OGX, they migrated immediately over, and then we have a good new customer base that are coming on just because of the capabilities of new capabilities of the network. And it's not just the larger message sizes and whatnot, but it's also about power efficiency. We're also seeing a lot of new customers coming in with applications that require a lot of power efficiency due to battery powered applications. And one of the things that we did, which I thought was pretty cool on our network, so I'm going to say it, is we took all of our devices that are operating on our legacy network, a good portion of them, the SRST series, are backwards compatible to the OGX. So you can actually reflash an old terminal that's operating on our IDP network, and it'll instantaneously operate on the OGX network.
Oh, nice.
And so you could take a battery-powered application, reflash it with OGX, and you're going to get anywhere between 20-30% more power efficiency. So you could run your application longer, or you could evolve your solution to reduce costs by using smaller battery packs or smaller solar arrays or whatnot.
You may have already answered my question, but can you be any more specific about a solution that you can deliver today that with OGX that you couldn't deliver without it?
Yeah, so we have a couple of applications. One is like when I say short clip video, one is an in-cab type of solution for drivers, right? And that was something that we can never support on our legacy network. We can on OGX. We also have an application where they do non-invasive mineral mapping, and so instead of doing for mining, instead of doing like core samples where you actually drill and pull out a core and you assess what type of minerals are in there, our partner has developed this technology where they measure acoustic ambient waves through the ground through a very sensitive receiver, and as a ambient noise wave goes through material, it attenuates differently. So it's like giving a signature for different type of minerals, and then all that information is then sent over our network, and OGX is designed for that type of data intensive type of applications and delivering it in a very cost effective manner.
And I have a question here for you. How does Skywave ensure that a terminal deployed today in a remote mining or maritime environment remains future-proof as satellite and AI technologies evolve over the next decade? So you've just described how you maintain backward compatibility, but I guess we're talking about forward compatibility.
Yeah. So here's so I kind of look at that and say, what's interesting and from my view is that these satellite networks last a long time, right? And if I'll use our legacy network, we launched in 2011. We have 450,000 devices on that network, still operating, over the last 15 years. In those earlier days where we had dual mode applications, they had satellite and 3G cell modems. 3G was turned down, right? And so in favor of 4G, 5G. But those legacy devices are still operating because they had satellite. So in terms of like future-proofing, OGX is like your future-proof for, 6G, 7G, whatever, right? As you go for dual mode, your cellular, just historically, your cellular component eventually is going to shut down before your satellite will.
By the way, I have to say OG is a great name because Orbcomm is the OG when it comes to satellite cellular connectivity. Before your time, Orbcomm was working with Volvo to bring satellite cellular connectivity to cars, but then this little Chapter 11 filing got in the way, and that didn't come to pass. But yeah, really OG. I'm not sure that was the thought process at the time, but yeah, original gangster connectivity. But Dr. Roscoe, with your PhD and background in RF antenna design, specifically phased arrays, how did your personal technical expertise influence the physical design and connectivity capabilities of the latest Skywave hardware?
Well, I think being an antenna guy and an RF guy, I drove our RFIC ASIC, which had a significant impact on our terminals design and whatnot. From an antenna perspective, my personal input to the team was we designed some novel, which are patented circular polarized antennas that we have for our devices. We implemented antenna diversity so that we could use that logic to sense signal strength from various satellites or beams that are have overlap, and so that's kind of like my light touch on our products.
So what's the next frontier? What's next for Orbcomm and Skywave? And we haven't talked too much about AI. I'm sure AI is somewhere in the mix here.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, the not surprising answer is going to be AI is coming down the pipe, right?
Of course.
Because when you look at AI is as good as the data that it has, right? And what does Skywave do? We provide data, right? And in the legacy deployments, whatever it is, whatever the application, whatever the vertical, we're in all verticals, right? Transportation, mining, fisheries, utilities, agriculture, you name it. It's all about remote monitoring and control or management of assets, right? And so we provide that data set that comes back for monitoring and managing those assets, and decisions are being made on that data, right? But now with AI and the amount of data that we can bring, it's all about the insights that you can obtain from the data, and that'll inherently improve your management and operations of those assets. So, if you're in that business of those assets, you're going to improve with better insights. You're going to improve your operations. Improve your operating costs and whatnot. So it's really harnessing AI as it's coming into the market at this point.
And if I want to learn more or keep up with Skywave, where am I going to go?
You're going to go to our website. You can either go to our Orbcomm website or hit Skywave.
Very good. Okay. I want to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about the MSUA at msua.org. You can learn how to get our weekly newsletter that gives you updates on everything that's happening in the industry and shares information about upcoming events. And you can also find out how to become a member. We look forward to seeing you next time on MSUA's Game Changers webcast. And David, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Roger. Really appreciate it.
Okay.